Hello, I'm Robin Maynard Smith, and I support people on their journey to self discovery, self healing, finding their purpose, and living the life of who they are. Hey there, everyone. So today I am here with my daughter, Katie, and we're going to talk a little bit about what it's like to grow up with kind of a mystical family and having a mom that's a little bit, maybe different energetically than others. We thought it'd be fun to share some stories about just events and things that have happened in our life with all of you. So Katie, if you want, tell everybody hi and
Hi.
and we'll get started. So Katie, my question for you is when we talk about us as a family, right? And the mystical things that have happened, meaning just things that are outside the normal, is there a particular one that kind of just sticks out in your mind? Like this was definitely different. Like this was something that's like, I'm a
Um,
little different.
well, I mean, one of the biggest ones that's always, I think, gonna stick out for me because it was such a huge thing was deciding on my own to try to conceive and you calling and being like, you know what? You're pregnant or gonna be pregnant soon. And you had no clue. We'd had no conversations about any of it. And the fact that you just knew and called me on the day that I conceived Alexa.
Yes, I remember that because it was like a Monday at 5:30 at night, and I was working on a massage client, and my belly was just like, "Oh shit, Katie's pregnant." Like I just was like, I knew, and he was just like, and I remember calling you like, "Hey, I don't know if you're trying to get pregnant, but you got pregnant today at 5:30."
Yep. I was like, well, we'll find out in 2 weeks. And sure enough, we now have the almost 11-year-old running around, which is insane.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was kind of interesting because even with with Holden, your last boy, I remember that was on Memorial Day weekend. And I
Hmm.
remember it was on Memorial Day weekend. I'm like, hey, you got pregnant at 2 o'clock on Saturday. You're pregnant again. You're like, well, and then you were. And then we had him.
And I think that one was crazier just because Alexa, we kind of planned. So we knew we wanted to try, but Holden, we weren't trying and we weren't preventing. And when he got to come home for Memorial Day, since he was military, we only had that like 3 days together that weekend.
Hmm.
I was supposed to be past the window of even being able to like try to
Yeah.
make a baby. And it's like, okay, well, mom says I got pregnant, but like, I doubt if it actually happened. And sure enough, there's Holden too. And it's been crazy. That's been one of the biggest ties I think I've had with you. That's been like a crazy thing that people are like, oh my gosh, your mom knew you got pregnant before you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just to clarify for the audience, it's not like I saw the act of conception.
No, no, just all that I was gonna be pregnant and have a baby.
Yeah, it was. It was really powerful. Because then you decided to conceive with your wife now. And that
Mm.
was really fascinating because you had been trying. And if you want to share with your journey with that about your conception with your child now, that could be a really interesting story for people to hear.
Oh yeah, I mean, we knew we wanted to try to have a baby. We were off and on about the concept of bringing another child in just because we already have Alexa and Holden that we discussed here that are a bit older, but we
Mhm.
really wanted to have one more child that would be our child. Obviously, those two are from a previous marriage and everything. And I remember we agreed that we wanted to actually have like a session with you to do the whole conception and being able to have you talk us through what was going to work best and how and when she was going to be conceived and that she was going to be a girl who we know is in fact a girl that's now due in 8 weeks roughly.
Yeah.
That whole thing was just a really really magical experience to have kind of you help us even before on like how to make the baby a reality versus like the other times where you kind of just like, hey, you're pregnant. So
Yeah.
um I know that was like a really really special thing for Liz and I to feel like we kind of had support in this energetic sense of not just what we physically have to do and how babies come into the world, but that you saw what she was going to look like and her personality and all of these things before
Yeah.
she was even here.
Oh yeah, because you can see them come in. I've worked with a lot of women to help with this, but so you weren't too like, hey, I'll ask mom. It wasn't like you're like, our moms did this a lot. But what was fascinating with her was how it did kind of, the babies like to kind of trickle in. They like to kind of come in, and you can see them. And for any of you out there that watch that movie Soul, like that is literally how it looks. And I didn't like, if they could have seen my brain when I see these babies, they're kind of up here, and they're kind of like, okay, coming in, and you see them, and it's not instant, but you can feel them come closer and closer and closer down into the uterus. It's like a very interesting process. But what I remember the most, because it was a Saturday, and I was like, hey, you want to do it on Saturday, this, and then I was like, at this day, you're done. You're done. You don't even try anymore. It was
Which
very
was crazy.
Mhm.
It was crazy too for the fact that that was just divinely its own thing because that was our wedding anniversary. And then what are the odds? And this one isn't probably too much of mine, but just a side note to give dynamic of our family.
Mhm.
But that then 2 months later, after we know Liz is pregnant, we end up finding out about Andrew and Allie conceiving. And
Yeah.
they're due literally a day apart because our family has this weird interconnectedness.
Yeah, yeah. And for all the out there, we will talk with them too. That's a really fun story, but it does
Mhm.
connect because their due dates are literally a day apart, which is really funny because their due dates are only one day from my birthday. So I'm kind of like, bringing in some Gemini energy into the
Mhm.
vortex. But
Well, and Liz won't let up about it too over there. She's like, "Oh, I had to have my own Gemini. It's
yeah,
only fit."
it is fate because she is a Gemini, and it does add a beautiful dynamic. That's the fascinating thing when you do see the baby's energies coming in. You can almost see those zodiac signs that they want to be. I mean, I've
Mhm.
noticed that. Like, I'll see someone like, this child's gonna be this, and this, and it's like, wow, yeah. And then the baby's born during Cancer, and like I told you, it'd be a very emotional boy. Like now, when I say gender, just for everyone out there, I see the stronger dominant energy if it's a more feminine or masculine energy. I don't know always gender because sometimes they come in and they're very masculine energy, but their gender is female or vice versa. With your family dynamic, though, it is fitting that she is very feminine in her energy because it's going to bring quite the dynamic in for Liz as well to have a very feminine girl energy to raise because that shifts the dynamics within her own, a balancing energy for her because she's more masculine, by nature.
Right. I have
So
a very masculine wife. That is
yeah,
for sure. Did the
and
whole
I love that.
football and everything.
Yeah, I love that. And Liz knows we're recording this, so everyone knows she knows we're talking about this. And sometime if you guys would meet Liz too, that'd be fun to talk to her about this experience as well on a different one where she can give it from her perspective of being in this family and that kind of stuff going on. Because our family is unique in the aspect of our interconnection of emotions and
Mhm.
and we know when someone is like not having a good day or not a good space, like we can feel it in our souls because we have such an interconnection. And that's probably why it's such a powerful family dynamic to have, right?
Mhm.
So everyone out there, this is fun talking about the babies. We're gonna wrap up this session and we will catch you in another episode with us. But Katie, was there anything that you wanted to add in the aspect of just your conception stories to anyone out there that they might find it interesting or fascinating about having a mom like this, and also how it even helped you
I
as
think
maybe
it's funny just to see the trickle down because even your mom knew when you were giving birth to me, and
yep,
that's still kind of linked to my own birth story and conception.
yep. My mom didn't know I was pregnant, but my mom literally showed up at the hospital, and this was a long time ago. I was a very young mom. We didn't have a car, we didn't have a phone. I had to go to the hospital because my water broke, obviously. And my mom just shows up at the hospital when I was giving birth to Katie. She just showed up. I'm like, how is she here? Nobody could get a hold, like, there was no getting a hold of her because my water broke and I had you in a few hours. So it was like not. But mama's radar was strong, and my grandmother was very gifted as well. And then we're now noticing that, which we'll save this for another episode to talk about this one, but we're noticing it even in your daughter. So the gifts, I mean, that is a 5 women generation, and it's in the boys too. The boys do it too. My son and my grandsons too. but there is definitely a lineage of energy that flows through this gifting that we have.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right, we'll wrap up this episode and we will catch all of you on the next one. So thanks, Katie, for being here for this one.
Thanks.
Hello, I'm Robin Maynard Smith, and I support people on their journey to self-discovery, self-healing, finding their purpose, and living the life of who they are.